Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel The Boss's Way. It's been a little while since the last video update, but just real life stuff. It's been busy, but yeah, we're back now, and as you can see here, we have some 2016 World Championship decks. We have Shintaro Ito's Magical Symphony deck that he won the 2016 Worlds with, and then we have the Black Dragon deck. Piloted by Shunto Sadahiro, and then we have Jasper Ericsson's Bebe deck that has Vespiquen and Yanmega in it. So yeah, I suppose we're going to do videos on just opening these 2016 World Championship decks. I also, the one that's missing of course is the Greninja deck because I couldn't find an actual price for the Worlds deck that was actually what I felt reasonable in line with these other three decks. I know Greninja at the time was popular, so it actually worked out cheaper for me just to actually build the actual deck using the real cards rather than the World Championship cards. And so that's what I did. I actually just built the Worlds list for Greninja using the real cards. So at some point I'll do a deck profile for that as well, in line with these, because it is, even though it's not a World Championship box and stuff, it is the World Championship list, that came second. So yeah, we'll definitely do that as well, but obviously it is maybe just as fun as opening up these boxes. So for today's video we will take a look at opening up Shintaro Ito's World Championship Mega Audino EX deck that obviously took Worlds by storm, and very reminiscent of Worlds in 2004 when the Japanese players came along with their Groudon, Team Agma's Groudon deck, and traded all of the American players for Groudon pieces, and the American players thought they were getting a great deal because Groudon and Team Agma's cards weren't really played that much from their side of things, and then the competition starts, and then they find out pretty quickly that Team Magma's Groudon is a very good card and a very good deck. And yeah, so I guess it's reminiscent of that. Japanese player comes along and kind of surprises everybody with a kind of an outside of scope deck, which is what happened here with Mega Audino as well. So we do have I have 05 World Championship decks and 07. But I suppose I got those decks before I started making a channel, so I have the boxes for them, but they are just opened already, and I think I've done some deck profiles with them already, but this is kind of cool that we see them before and after. So I'm going to just pull back the two decks here and open up the Worlds deck here. So yeah, got these decks off Card Market. So Card Market is pretty good if you can get a decent seller. Deliveries, well, if you're in Europe obviously, it's pretty good. So I'm going to crack this open now, and let's take a look at what we have in here. Kind of just going to open it across the little line that's there, just to kind of keep the box in decent-ish condition, although I don't really care too much because I'm going to sleeve these and put them in a deck box, but I suppose you want to keep the box in reasonable nick. So we open it up here, see the front of it there. So we have our book, San Francisco, August 19th to 21st, pretty cool. And then we have another little layer here, just holding it all together. So we'll just take out all the little individual pieces here. It's a cool badge actually. And now we have here some of our cards. We have our Mega Audino EX here, and we have, careful trying to take these out, and our Hoopa EX. So kind of cool. It's strange actually seeing these EX cards not shiny, but in a way it's actually kind of cool as well. Just seeing them kind of playing, for want of a better word. But anyway, they're the two star cards that was chosen for the front there. So let us take a look at the book here real quick. I'm not going to spend too long on this because I see other people doing these deck openings of boxes and stuff. And I'm just like, oh, just get to the deck. That's the interesting bit. But the book itself is pretty interesting. It goes through all the different players and the Pokemon that they use, and it covers the VGC and stuff. There's Shintaro there himself, who won with this deck we're about to look at, the Magical Symphony deck. It was pretty cool. And his list there, and obviously Cody Walensky, the guy who was using the Greninja deck, and who came second. There's actually a YouTube video where he explains his deck list after the competition, which is pretty interesting. You should check out if you just type in 2016 Greninja deck Cody Walensky. It'll come up anyway. And he actually he appears on someone else's channel and talks about the deck and stuff, which is pretty cool. But that's the book there. So let's jump into the cards. So that's our Worlds box there for 2016. Purple box. And we now are going to see what we have in here. Okay, we have a little card as well. Okay, so we are starting off with Cobalion, 120 hit point. Quick guard, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. During opponent's next turn, this Pokemon can't use quick guard. Okay, and Revenge Blast for 30, and this deck does 30 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So again, I'm not too familiar with the 2016 format, to be honest. I'm just kind of learning about it now through these decks. I remember this Absol though. Cursed Eyes, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you can move 3 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon to another of his or her Pokemon. So it's cool for just kind of getting knockouts and things. That's your Audino Spirit Link, so obviously 4 of those, so your turn doesn't end when you go from Audino EX to Mega Audino EX, and you have 1 copy of your Mega Turbo to accelerate energy to your Mega Audino EX. Pokemon Center Lady for healing. Starting Megaphone, discard all Pokemon tools attached to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Discard all Pokemon tool cards attached to each of your opponent's Pokemon. To each of them? Does that mean maybe like all of their Pokemon? But it says each, which means to each. Maybe that kind of indicates to me too, but if anyone in the comments wants to clarify that, again, I didn't play this format. So Super Rod for recovery, any combination of energy and Pokemon. And then we have our 2 copies of our Mega Audino, and obviously 3 here because this guy was at the front. So Magical Symphony. If you played a supporter from your hand, if you played a supporter card from your hand during this turn, this attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so, and then 110 to the active. So pretty nice sniping there. And usually most turns you're going to want to be playing a supporter, so it's usually not a problem. 4 copies of Ultra Ball, just for searching things out. Versus Seeker, very good for getting second uses out of supporter cards. And then when you have like you play one-ofs, like that Pokemon Center Lady and things like that, it allows you to kind of use that card again and again and get away with it when you play one-ofs. And here we have a one-off Zerazik as well. So choose a Pokemon tool or special energy attached to a Pokemon and play yours or your opponent's and discard it. But again, you can use that repeatedly with Versus Seeker. Then we play 4 copies of Trainer's Mail just for consistency. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and you may reveal a trainer you find there, except for Trainer's Mail, and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So that's the first half there. Obviously we have our Hoopa EX here as well, so might put the Hoopa beside on this pile here. But so Hoopa again had a Scoundrel Ring, so just to go through that real quick before we look at the second half of the deck. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you can search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon EX except for Hoopa and reveal them and put them into your hand. So it's just good for tutoring out your Audino EXs. Hyperspace Fury, discard 2 energy attached to this Pokemon, and this attack does 100 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Again, I haven't seen the exact energy count in this deck yet, but I know from other decks that use Super EX, very rarely you'd be trying to get a Hyperspace Fury off. It was purely for the Scoundrel Ring ability to set up the actual Pokemon that you wanted to attack with. So let's open up the second part here. I see a Hexmaniac, which was a card that wasn't too well liked back in the day, just because it kind of stopped you from doing things. But let's take a look at it now. So, Hex Maniac. And it reads, until the end of your opponent's next turn, each Pokemon in play in each player's hand and in each player's discard pile has no abilities. This includes cards that come into play on that turn. So it's just a disruptive shut down your opponent type of card. And again, with 4 copies of Versus Seeker, you can play that card over and over again. Sycamore, just your bin your hand and draw 7. Pretty standard. Parallel City, these are pretty cool cards. Parallel City, and there was another card like Parallel City, I can't remember the name of it, but depending on which way the card sits has a different ability, so, or effect should I say. So if it's this way, choose which way this card faces before you play it. Any damage done by attacks from this player down here on this side of the board is grass, fire and water Pokemon is reduced by 20, and then the other side, if you're the other player, on this other side, this player can't have more than 3 bench Pokemon. So you would use it to, you could use it to restrict your opponent's bench, or what you could do is if you had like a load of Hoopa EXs on your bench and they're a liability and you've used their effect and you don't need them anymore, you could, in some circumstances, restrict your own bench down to 3 to get rid of the Hoopa EXs, and so that way your opponent wouldn't be easy knockouts for your opponent later on, because instead of having to deal with your main attacker, it could be easier just to deal with a Hoopa EX that's sitting on the bench doing nothing. And also if you dragged it up into the active, then it'd be stuck there as well, so it just kind of stops those type of plays as well. So it's a pretty creative card. It gives you options. So you have 2 copies of N. Again, you know, a lot of decks back in the day would have 4, but when you're playing 2 Versus Seeker, I guess you can get away with that. 2 copies of Lizand. So again, that's your Gustin, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with his or her active. Again, you don't need to go heavier than that when you have your Versus Seeker. Then you have your 2 copies of Floatstone just for pivoting, and it has gives you your no retreat, free retreat, which is good. Izzy, choose one of your opponents, or choose one Pokemon. Put one Pokemon, one of your Pokemon into your hand. So that's good for just picking up things. Then we have our Magerna EX card. So Magerna reads, prevent all effects of your opponent's attacks except damage done to each of your Pokemon that have any metal energy attached. And then Soul Blaster for a metal and 2 colorless is 120, and during your next turn this Pokemon's Soul Blaster's attacks base is 60, so it gets worse. But then it has that magical heart just for a bit of tankability if you have a card with metal energy attached, and of course Mega Audino is colorless Pokemon, so it doesn't matter what energy is attached to it. But so then if you put a metal onto it, Magerna will then use its Mystic Heart to give it a bit more tankiness. So now we have Shaman EX just for setup, 2 copies of that. You play this Pokemon from your hand onto the bench, and then you can draw up to 6 cards. Pretty popular card, pretty expensive card back in the day as well. And this is our Audino EX, which is just there to get into your Mega Audino. So 1 for 20, and you heal 20 on Drain Slap, and then do the wave, very similar, or throwback to the Wigglytuff from the base fossil type era. Although I think, did it come out in Jungle? It might have come out in Jungle. But it's definitely a base, pretty popular base fossil deck. Do the wave Wigglytuff. So here, this attack does 10 damage, more damage for each of your benched Pokemon. So unlike Wigglytuff, where it counts your opponent's bench. Sorry, Wigglytuff only encounters your bench, that's correct. I am thinking of the new Suicune V, who, and Palkia V-Star now, that like its damage actually increases by including how many Pokemon is on both players' bench, but for Do the Wave, it's always just been your own bench. So a bench of 5 gets you another 50 damage, is 110, which I suppose technically is the same as what Mega Audino EX is doing, but obviously you're not getting that 50 snipe, so you're playing your 4 copies of your Mega Audino EX just for consistency. Then you have your Escape Rope, which is good for pivoting, also makes your opponent switch a Pokemon out as well. So each player switches his or her active with one of his or her bench Pokemon your opponent chooses first. 4 copies of DCE, obviously, because the attack costs on Audino and Mega Audino, and even Magerna are expensive, just to remind you all. Colorless, metal and colorless. Audino, as we knew, we just saw there was 3. And I'm pretty sure that Mega Audino is also 3. Let me just see. Yes, 3. So a DCE counts as 2 attachments there, which is pretty sweet for just pasting things along nicely for yourself. And then you have your metal energy for that Magurna. Again, you could play any energy really, I suppose, since it's a colourless attacker, but you know, Shintaro Ito obviously chose to go metal for Magurna's effect to make you a little bit more tankier, which obviously paid out from because he won the World Championships that year with this deck. So there you go, that is the deck there. I'm actually really excited to play this because it's just kind of unusual, and I never would have picked up Mega Audino to try out. Like, I wouldn't have been considered it like a cool Pokemon or anything like that. So it's just cool the way that it did actually win, and it was a surprise. And that's the badge there, the San Francisco Pokemon badge, which is pretty cool too. Pretty cool too, and the book again. So that's been the deck video, or the video profile of Shintaro Ito's 2016 World Championship deck. I will do Jesper Eriksson's Baby deck and Shunto's Black Dragon deck, as well as the 2016 Masters finalist Ninja Blitz deck, which is the Greninja deck, just to just to kind of cover all 4, even though it's not technically coming from the World's box, it is the World's list. So yeah, that has been another kind of video from me, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more frequent going forward. Again, there's just a lot of stuff going on in the real world, and again, this has always been a casual place for retro TCG, so it's never too scheduled. But yeah, appreciate the watch, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. And this has been another episode of The Boss's Way.